The most common question that I get asked is, how do I get motivated? But I think there's a better question, and that is, how do we get disciplined? Because motivation is fleeting. It comes and it goes. Discipline, on the other hand, is a skill. And skills can be learned. For example, when you want to learn how to play an instrument, you don't wait until you're motivated to practice. You just sit down and do it. Now, obviously, there are different levels to this. At first, everything is hard. So you have to start small and then work your way up. Like if I wanted to learn how to play the piano, I wouldn't sit down and try to learn Mozart's Sixth Symphony as my very first song. Instead, I would start with some basic chords and then work my way up from there. But back to the question, how do we get disciplined? The answer is we don't. Discipline is not something that you find. It's something that you create. And you create it through your habits. Your habits either make you disciplined or they make you undisciplined. So let me give you 2 examples of habits that will either make you more disciplined or less disciplined. Habit no. 1. Procrastination. If you procrastinate, that means that you're not disciplined. It means that you're choosing to do things later instead of now. So what do? You say to yourself, I'm never gonna procrastinate again. That's not gonna happen because procrastination is a habit. You don't overcome a habit by making a promise to yourself. You overcome a habit by changing your actions. So, instead of saying, I'm never going to procrastinate again, what you should say is, I'm going to tackle my task right now. And even if you don't feel like it, you still do it. Habit no. 2 is perfectionism. Perfectionism is undisciplined. The person who is a perfectionist is always putting things off, because they want to make sure that everything is perfect. They want to make sure that they don't have any mistakes. They want to make sure that everything is absolutely perfect. And so, what do? Well, they end up doing nothing. They end up procrastinating because they're waiting for the perfect moment. They're waiting for the perfect timing. They're waiting for everything to be absolutely perfect, so that they can finally take action. And here's the problem with that. When you live in a constant state of perfectionism, what you're really doing is you crippling yourself, because at some point you have to make a decision to just do something. You have to decide to take imperfect action. So here's the bottom line. Don't wait until you're motivated to do something. Don't wait until you feel like doing it. Just do it. Just take the first step. Because once you take the first step, motivation will come. Motivation is like a wave. You have to ride the wave. You can't fight the wave. And so what happens is that when you take the first step, that little bit of energy that you had, that little bit of motivation that you had, it starts to build and build and build until it becomes this huge wave of motivation that carries you forward. But if you try to fight it, if you try to do something when you're not motivated, you're going to struggle the entire way. You're just making it harder than it needs to be. So here's the deal. Don't wait until you're motivated. Just fake it. Fake the motivation. Fake it till you make it. Because here's the beautiful thing about being human. We can actually convince our brains into doing stuff. And what happens is that once you've convinced your brain into doing one thing, your brain starts to believe that that's what it wants to do. It's like you tell yourself, hey, I want to go for a run. And at first, you don't feel like it, but you go for a run anyway. And after a few minutes, you start to feel like you want to go for a run. Your body starts to convince itself that this is what it wants to do. And that's exactly how you build discipline. You trick your mind into doing stuff. You trick yourself into doing stuff. And so, here's the deal. Stop waiting for motivation. Just start doing the thing. If you want to be disciplined, act like you're already disciplined. And over time, your habits will change. Your motivation will increase. You'll have all the motivation that you need because you're no longer fighting your habits. You're working with them.